here tonight. It's a great honor for me to see you all. And I respect it so much that I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I want to start with the confession. A few years ago, I had this urge of becoming a social architect. I wanted to design social bridges between communities that currently don't even have a chance to speak to one another. And I knew that the key ingredient to make collaboration between those communities would be through innovation. So I started studying this issue, and as any serious scholar, I Googled it. And when you Google diversity and innovation, you get over 180 billion results. That basically says that diversity drives innovation. Well, that's not always the case, right? Because many times diversity actually brings divisiveness and chaos, balagan. So what makes diversity sometimes be innovative and sometimes accelerate divisiveness? That's what I wanted to find out, and luckily I wasn't alone, because 4 years ago, UGA Federation of New York also recognized the need for a platform and a process that would bring together a truly diverse group of driven individuals to come together and collaborate between their communities. So I quit my job as a lawyer, nobody's perfect, and I entered this crazy mission of finding the antidote for the divisiveness venom. I went to study it everywhere. I read every written article about diversity and innovation. I went to Harvard Business School, I went to Harvard Kennedy School, I went to Stockholm, I went to Dublin. My wife practically wanted to kill me. But at the end of all those journeys, I still didn't have the answer. Then I started to realize I had one answer, and it was closer to home. Because when I was a child, I had this childhood dream of becoming a superhero. I wanted to be that guy who comes for your rescue in the middle of the night from the most dangerous trouble. I wanted to rescue anytime, anywhere. And growing up, I knew there's a place that actually does this kind of rescue missions, and that the Israeli Airborne Rescue Unit 669. So I worked real hard, and I passed the screening exams, and I still remember first day of training when I went to the bus going to boot camp, and I saw all these different individuals sitting in the bus. And I never met such a diverse group in my life. One guy was hearing Russian rap, another guy was studying Talmud, one guy looks like he is going to a wedding and he's the groom, another guy looks like he's just returned from India and he's a guru. But basically, I just didn't get it. How can such a diverse group can ever become a unified rescue unit? So, guess what? A year later, that's exactly what happened. We do diving, we do rock climbing, we do parachuting, navigation practically every course at the IDF, but there's one thread that connects them all. And that's the bottom-up approach. Because at the Airborne Rescue Unit, we don't really have commanders. You don't really get orders. You must trust your team to achieve your goals. So now I could take this model of bottom-up process and transform it to the collab, and that's exactly what I did. Because the first thing when these top leaders of different societies come to collab, they expect to get now this high-end process, which I get, but the first thing they hear is that we have no syllabus. Think of it. They just entered 8-month intensive program Maybe they expect now this fancy professor, but they get me telling them, listen guys, I only have 2 questions for you because I have nothing to teach you. But what do you want to learn from each other and what do you want to teach each other? And then they design the syllabus, and it's the most relevant syllabus because they design inquiry journeys where they take the whole group to discover the reality under the radar in their communities. Once you do that, you get shared vulnerability. And shared vulnerability is the secret ingredient. Because once you see the vulnerability of each other, and everyone sees, everyone in their highest peaks and in their lowest, everyone sees the difficulties their community is facing, then they can start to think of solutions together. They can lean in together. And through going in these inquiry journeys and discovering the reality under in Israel, not only that they get the real data of the real problems and starting to get the real solution, they also get to discover themselves. For example, Sigal Peretz, CEO of Akim, together with a member Knesset Nina Tamano-Shata and Rabbi Avi Novis, Dean of the Conservative Movement, together they initiated the first ever Bet Midrash for people with intellectual disability. And that started when they overlapped the difficulties between their communities, identified there's racism against their communities. And 3 years later, what began as a pilot that had never been done before is now a project of 9 different centers. We have a dozen examples of such breakthrough collaboration that already happened at Collab. And that's because we're onto something. We're onto something because we discovered a way to take the bottom-up process and through getting people to really see each other in their most vulnerable places, they don't need to fear now. They don't need to fear to expose themselves. They don't need to fear to collaborate. And once they have this sense of shared vulnerability, then they get the most important thing for collaboration, which is trust. So when I come to conclude it, I remember that today we also teach it not only at the Kola, but also for senior officials at the Prime Minister's office, as an academic course in Oranim College, and to the senior management of Jerusalem municipality. And you know what I've discovered? That this bottom-up process that gets you the shared vulnerability is not relevant only for the rescue team, it's not relevant for Kola, it's relevant for anyone who wants to accelerate innovation through diversity. Anyone who wants to be better collaborator, who wants to be better innovator. If we could just take this step forward and embrace bottom-up process, we will get shared vulnerability. If we will have the courage to admit our vulnerability and to ask for our partner's vulnerability in our work days, also in our families, then we can get truly innovative collaborations. Toda rabah.